At 11 o'clock, Arkansas Racial Commission, come to order, please. Campbell, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Chairman Leiblau.
Here.
Commissioner Lambert.
Here.
Commissioner Post.
Here.
Commissioner East.
Here.
Commissioner Landers.
Here.
Commissioner Hunter.
Here.
And Commissioner Atkins. Here. All present and all right. Thank you.
Minutes of January 24th, 2024. It's been reviewed by Byron. Does anybody else have any questions? Byron says they're thumbs up. Do I have a motion to approve 24 minutes? Second. Thank you. Anthony, all in favor, please say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We've got no ruling. And probably just got one deal of business. But one other thing I want to bring up in a minute, bring it. We lost a good supporter of Arkansas racing over here. Just a good person, that Bill Cravens that passed away earlier this year. And I remember when Russell Brown, First National Bank, and he was just always a gentleman. We've all had interaction with him, and I think I've never heard anybody say a bad interaction, but so I did want to bring up. Let's go to new business.
On the restrooms.
Oh,
This restroom right outside the door had some issues, I think, with the water fountain dead, so we need the ladies or the boys go down all around the hall. Thank you.
and surely we won't be here that long. All right. Do you wish to take over at this point?
I may. So in your packets, for those that are online, you should have received an email containing, at the last meeting, you all requested a copy of Amendment 100 that has been added to the back of your binders, have been emailed out to those that are joining us by Zoom today. Behind that is an additional markup of the rules, which you all have also received via email a few minutes ago. For ease of interpretation and review by you all, the additional changes from our last meeting I put in blue so that you could see what has changed from the last meeting. And that's going to be, should be the last documents in your binder. So just to go over for those of them to know what we have changed, we received some feedback, of course, from the last meeting regarding the rules under 213 for the additions that we had for section E and F to reopen a new application process. We're just changing that language contained therein from may to shall to be consistent with Amendment 100. If you will flip over to page 6, it actually is, starts on page 5, the rule does, and it's 6A. 7, under that, there were some concerns regarding where we added for consistency purposes the term shareholder to the rules for background checks. The rules already contemplate how to handle publicly traded entities at Rule 19. So just for clarification purposes, we did add the language, which is underlined in blue, except those exempt from suitability requirements as contemplated in these rules. Because as you all know, as businessmen and with the publicly traded entities, they're constantly moving shareholders. And so to request and require to have background checks of every shareholder is almost an impossibility. And so we've added that language because, as I said, your original rules already contemplated how to handle suitability in publicly traded entities. We just clarified that in this section so everyone would know that those suitability requirements and potential exemptions and waivers would apply here as well.
I found out something almost about mistake several years ago on a publicly traded gaming company. I got real close to going over the 10%. And somebody said, hey, you go over that, you got to do all the 5. And so obviously didn't want to do that. So where are we on that now?
So that language is contained under Rule 19 and was in the original set of rules that discusses the 10% and 5% holdings.
All right, I just want to know where it's at. Actually, I almost found out about Hardly, very hard.
The additional change is that you will find is at section under Rule 9, and it is a formatting change somewhat at the request of Commissioner Anthony. There is a change in what is listed under the criteria for merit evaluation of applications. It's just, like I said, a formatting change there. B4 was actually listed as C instead of being subpart 4, and that is on page 7 of the rules at the very top. Y'all find it? We moved the first sentence of subpart C to B4.
No.
Yeah.
Protect committee.
Mr. Chairman, that was at my request because the amendment lists 4 criteria to judge the applications on. And originally, B only had the first 3 and put the 4th in a separate paragraph. I thought it would be best to put.
And that one catch, appreciate it.
Additionally, at his request, we also, for y'all's consideration under subpart D, where it says a review panel comprised of members of the commission shall evaluate the applications. At the request, we have removed the review panel and it just says the commission shall evaluate the applications.
I remember how we got that in there the first time, what the purpose of that was. Anybody remember? It is an order. Okay. All right.
That is only the additional changes that have been made to these rules since you reviewed them at the last meeting.
You don't have thoughts?
Mr. Chairman, I was not on the commission when the original applications were reviewed. And so this was the first time I had seen the rules. This subsection 9 that we were just referring to, I'm not real clear from reading it exactly the procedure that's used. It seems very specific about the criteria and scoring rubric. But Mr. McDaniel had submitted a letter where he interprets that section as requiring the review panel to reach a consensus reach a decision by consensus on score instead of every individual scoring the applications and signing numbers. That the commission has to agree on a specific number for each criteria. Is that the way it was done originally?
It was done poorly the first time. The scoring had an issue. And remember, well, it could come out not a good scoring. So you're, at this point, what are you telling us to do on the score?
So on the scoring at this point, you will still have a matrix that will be sent out with the notice of open application. And so there will be the notice that will go out, opening the application process with the criteria that you all will be looking at. And after the applications are received, then you all will take that criterion with the points that you all have agreed upon for that criterion to provide some background on how high the scoring can go. Then you will you all will each individually review the application based upon this change to the rules and apply the scoring for each section of the merit section of the application.
This comes in place if we have two letters. Is that
So because the merit scoring and the amendment requires that you have some, and the rules require someone to have experience conducting casino gaming, you all are going to have to evaluate even if there's one application to make sure that they meet all of the merit and all the requirements of the amendment before you can award that license. So you are still going to have to review and score them if there's only a single application submitted.
we reviewed in the past on some, but did not score? Is that correct?
Everyone loves my mashed potatoes, and here's why.
Our mashed potatoes.
Make sure that's in the kitchen minutes.
Get the heat out of here.
My question is, as we have learned, we better be sure that we do it exactly right and don't leave any to the and I guess I'm still not clear on the scoring method. Each individual commission member will score the applications.
Yes, it would based on the language that you
Right. The criteria and the scoring rubric. Once all of the commissioners have scored the applications, how is that compiled into a single number for each application? Or does it have to be?
So that is going to be, the application scoring process will be something you all will discuss when you create the matrix and the scoring rubric for that as to how you all want to move forward with that scoring process.
But we are constrained because it has to be within the language of the rule.
Correct.
Which is like, I guess my ultimate question is,
What is,
So,
is this the way we want to do it, or do we want to change the rule to
right,
allow us to do it in a different way?
because as Dee says, the points shall be totaled for each application and rank highest total score to lowest total score.
So would that just be like adding all the people scores and dividing it by 7 to get to an average score for each criteria?
So as the rule sets out right now, there is not an average. It would be the total scores, ranked highest to lowest.
But that's the total score of all the criteria added together.
Yes,
But how do you get to the criteria score?
the criteria scores such as, are you talking about on the matrix? Is
Well,
whether
for
it should be
example-
applied 3 points versus 10 points?
Well, I'm talking about like experience conducting gaming, 25 points. I might give them 20, I might give them 25, different numbers. Everybody might get a different number for that. So once you have the different numbers that everybody's getting for that specific criteria, how do you arrive at a single number in order to compile to get a total number?
So the way this rule is drafted, you will have a score sheet and you will score each one of those criteria with a total at the bottom. And then you would have to total the 7 scores together and rank them highest to
Okay,
lowest.
so if we're ranking from 0 to 100, say 25 points for each, so that would give you 100 possible points. Then when you added everybody up, you would have a total of 700. You add up you add every commissioner's scores together to have the highest possible score would be 700.
Potentially, yes.
Okay. Is that the way it was done before?
yes.
It is, except that it wasn't 25 points for
Right,
each
right.
category. It
We can allocate it, the number of points.
was weighted differently for each category. That, to Commissioner Anthony's point, we have to have 100 points, even though we're going to evaluate each of these categories, does it really need to be on a 100-point basis? Because that we did it before, it just left a huge spread of the scores.
The points to be applied to it is something that you all can vote on and determine as we set the matrix and the,
We can weight them,
yes,
but you have to announce that weighting whenever you request applications.
yes.
When the evaluation is made, is that done in open meeting?
Yes.
It was not discussed though when we did the voting. The votes were just turned in and nobody discussed their votes, if I recall, right, on the one vote. But that's neither here nor there, but I would like to see it where we had, if we get into that, where we've got open, constructive conversation. And the other thing is, if we get to that point, do we want to bring in a consultant somewhere? So we need that in there now, or can we just get the consultant on our own to help us?
So you still have that interview process as part of your rules. We did not change any of that process and procedure of the consultant or the interview process of the applicants. That is all still contained in the rules.
So in the previous application period, everybody reviewed the applications and scored them and came to the meeting with their score sheets. The score sheets were collected. Someone did all the math, and that was the way.
Yeah. Unless I forget it, that way you recall it.
We scored them at the meeting. And,
Was there discussion?
yes, that each of the applicants was given a chance to present
Yes, there was that.
their proposal. So there was a lot of discussion that of the criteria.
There was no discussion on why I might have voted one way and you might have voted that way, but the people there did get to make their presentation.
That's correct.
So, I'm glad Mr. Anthony caught that. Is there anything else that we missed?
Not that I'm aware of. These are the only changes that you have before you. We have, this will go through a public comment period, at which point they can be evaluated by members of the public. They can submit their public comment. And so if there's anything that they seek to be changed that you all are in agreement with, you can still vote at the end of public comment to make those changes.
I think the main thing we're trying to do is get the clearest, widest path for them to take the ball down and get it across the goal line.
Yes, sir.
Anybody on the phone have any questions? That's all right. I would take a motion to adopt the change.
Make a motion to Chairman, to adopt the changes.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Got the second? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Always go gun for it. They got lagged. Ayes have, unanimous. Thank you. And I'll vote for say aye. I think that pretty well does it. So now you're gonna take it to the legislature.
So at this point, DFA and the racing director will present these to the legislature. We'll take them to the governor's office in the legislature and initiate the rule promulgation process.
Andy, you wanna give us a guess on how long you think?
My guesstimate would be at this point, you all are going to need another meeting to conclude out the public comment and do final adoption of these rules in March. And it'll be based on once it's published in the newspaper, we start the 30-day public comment period started, then I think we can reach out and schedule a definite meeting date because we would know when that public comment would end.
That gives us our marching orders and, anything comes up, please let us know.
Sir.
I would take a motion to adjourn if anybody doesn't have any further questions. There you go.
Well, any idea what the next meeting?
Well, we got no March, I think, but, and part of our deal is we gotta figure out what we're gonna do with Oakland. This, we're still unsure of that. There's lots of moving parts.
So we're not gonna see this Saturday.
I'll send out a meeting, a cancel meeting notice after the meeting today.
Okay, good. So the next one on calendar is the 17th. Is that provisional?
Provisions, yes.
Okay.
And like I say, we're gonna try to keep all the casino meetings here, not at some of the casino part. That, did we vote on to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. All right.
Aye.
Got this. Arkansas Racing District.